Have you ever heard someone say, "I'll wait until I retire and then travel the world"? But what if by then you have the time, but your body doesn't have the energy? At a certain age, we start to look back on our lives and want to make the most of every moment. Traveling becomes a big dream for many people after the age of 70, a worthy reward for years of hard work. But there is one thing that few of us dare to face. Old age not only brings freedom, but also comes with hidden risks, especially when you start moving, flying far, and living in a completely different environment. In this video, we will explore 5 important reasons why traveling after 70 can be risky, from unexpected health problems to financial risks that not everyone foresees. This isn't a warning to scare you or to give up on your travel dreams, but a gentle reminder that at different stages of life, the way we prepare for each trip may need to change. If you or a loved one is considering a trip in the near future, watch this video until the end, because the final reason is something that many people don't think about, but can have a profound impact on your health, finances, and well-being. Remember the last time you found yourself needing a few days to recover from a long trip? Maybe it was just a weekend getaway or a visit to relatives, but instead of feeling relaxed and energized, you returned feeling chronically tired, having trouble sleeping and aching all over. For many people in their 70s, this is no longer the exception. It's the norm. Any trip, whether short or long, requires the body to adapt to a series of changes: time zones, climate, food, sleep, physical activity. And as we age, this ability to adapt also decreases significantly. As a result, instead of being recharged, older people often lose energy, even become exhausted after each journey. Imagine a typical day on a trip. Waking up early to get to the airport, sitting still for hours on a plane or bus, queuing to check in, traveling to the hotel, and then continuing a busy sightseeing schedule. For young people, it's just a busy day. But for people over 70, this can be a series of activities that overload the body. One of the biggest problems is that the feeling of fatigue doesn't just appear on the first day, but can last throughout the trip, and even worse after returning home. The elderly body takes longer to recover because the metabolism slows down, body functions decline, and the immune system is also weakened. Poor sleep is the first problem. Sleeping in a strange place, noise from the environment, time zone differences make it difficult for the elderly to fall into deep sleep. When lacking sleep, the ability to recover is greatly reduced, and it also increases the risk of falling, mild confusion, and even irregular heartbeat. Constant movement is also the cause of prolonged fatigue. Sitting still for a long time can easily lead to joint swelling, back pain, cramps, and the most dangerous is deep vein thrombosis, which is very common in the elderly after long flights. Mr. Richard, 75 years old, used to be a travel enthusiast. After retiring, he and his wife decided to take a 2-week trip to Europe. They planned carefully, a trip through 3 countries, staying 4 days in each place, combining city sightseeing, local cuisine, and visiting friends. Immediately after the 11-hour flight, he felt dizzy and short of breath. He assumed it was just jet lag, so he tried to keep up with the schedule. But on the 3rd day, he started having knee pain, had trouble sleeping, and couldn't join the walking tours as planned. When he returned home, it took him nearly 3 weeks to feel normal again. And what shocked him most was not the fatigue, but but the feeling of powerlessness at not being able to enjoy the trip as he had imagined. "I realized I was no longer the same," he shared. "What I thought was easy turned out to be a burden on my body." A common mistake of older people when traveling is trying to maximize their time. They book full tours, visit many places in a row, and often do not take enough rest between activities. As a result, the body does not have time to recover, causing fatigue to accumulate. In addition, irregular eating, not drinking enough water, and changing food intake also affect digestion and energy. Mild dehydration can cause headaches, loss of balance, and prolonged fatigue. And the irony is that these are completely avoidable if the schedule is designed to suit your physical condition. One of the less discussed aspects is recovery time after travel. It can take anywhere from a few days to a few weeks for people over 70 to get back to normal, and sometimes never fully if the trip has caused real damage to their health. Geriatricians have noted many cases of older people returning from long trips with problems such as weakness due to prolonged sleep deprivation, high blood pressure, recurrence of cardiovascular disease, worsening arthritis, loss of balance due to nervous system fatigue. Not everyone has to stop traveling after 70, but it is important to travel more selectively and cautiously. Some principles that can help reduce risks include: choose shorter itineraries, prioritize destinations that are close to home or have reasonable travel times, schedule rest days in between, avoid doing too many activities every day, maintain a routine, try to maintain the same meal and sleep times as you would at home. Focus on relaxation rather than exploration. Quiet resorts with medical care and physical therapy services are more suitable. Travel with relatives. A young person accompanying you not only provides physical support, but also an important spiritual support. We cannot turn back time, but we can choose to go through the following years in a sober and kind manner towards ourselves. Travel does not necessarily have to be long flights, strenuous journeys. Sometimes a vacation in a quiet countryside near home, a few days of relaxation with relatives, or even just a walk in the park is enough to bring joy and a sense of renewal. After the age of 70, the important thing is not how far you can go, but being able to return healthy and safe. And to do that, each trip needs to be carefully considered, with careful preparation and love for your own body. If you found this helpful, don't forget to leave a comment. Health is the #1 priority, to let us know you're still with us on this journey. In the next part, we'll explore an unexpected but extremely common risk: falls and injuries while traveling, a problem that many people have paid a high price for. Stay tuned. Have you ever slipped in the shower and thought you were just a little careless? Imagine that situation happening when you're in a strange hotel, in an unfamiliar bathroom, with no one around to help. In the middle of the night, the floor is slippery, the lights are dim, your body is tired after a long day. And then, a slight slip is enough to change your whole life. For the elderly, especially after the age of 70, falling is not just a fall. It can lead to broken bones, traumatic brain injuries, and even permanent loss of mobility. Research shows that falls are the leading cause of serious injury and death among older adults worldwide. And more worryingly, travel is one of the highest risk settings for falls. There are many factors that contribute to the risk of falling while traveling. Unfamiliar environments, hotels, motels, trains, or airports are all unfamiliar, making it more difficult to navigate and move around. Slippery surfaces. Hotel bathrooms often have glossy tile floors, no handrails or non-slip mats. Poor lighting. Many places save on electricity, dim night lights or dark hallways, making it dangerous to see where you are going. Accumulated fatigue. After a long day of traveling, your ability to maintain balance and reflexes is significantly reduced. No support. Traveling alone or without a loved one makes it much more difficult to handle an incident. Ms. Tui, 72, used to be a big traveler. On a vacation with a group of friends in Dalat, after a day of playing, she returned to her room and went to the bathroom. When she stepped out, she slipped because the floor was wet and there was no carpet. The fall caused her to break her femur. Despite timely emergency care, surgery and rehabilitation lasted 8 months. But the most heartbreaking thing was that after that fall, she could never walk normally again. The cane became her companion, and her confidence, especially her desire to explore the world, gradually disappeared. Her family spent hundreds of millions on medical and nursing expenses and had to adjust her entire living space to accommodate her new condition. She said, "I never thought that a trip could make me lose both my independence and confidence. What is worrying is that a fall does not require a strong impact. Sometimes it's just a misstep, a momentary lapse of concentration when going down the stairs, or a slight stumble when getting on the bus, all of which can be the last straw for a body that is no longer as flexible as before." Older adults have reduced bone density, weak muscles, poor vision and hearing, and underlying conditions such as diabetes, Parkinson's, low blood pressure, or medication side effects that all contribute to an increased risk of losing balance. That means that almost no one over 70 is completely safe from the risk of falling. What many people don't realize is that after a fall, many older adults not only suffer physical injuries, but also lose confidence in themselves. They begin to fear moving, fear going far, fear becoming a burden on their loved ones. That fear causes them to gradually give up social activities, turn down invitations to go out, and stop traveling. This condition, when combined with mild depression, insomnia, and social isolation, can significantly reduce quality of life and even contribute to a more rapid decline in cognitive function. You don't have to give up all travel, but prevention is key. Here are some important principles to help reduce the risk. Choose accommodation with safe conditions. Prioritize hotels or resorts with elevators, bathrooms with handrails, non-slip floors, and adequate lighting. If possible, call ahead to check or request a ground floor room. Bring slippers with non-slip soles and a walking stick if needed. The slippers in hotel rooms are often slippery. Bring a pair of slippers you are used to wearing at home, with good grip. If you have fallen before, consider using a walking stick or frame when walking a lot. Arrange things neatly in the room. Do not leave suitcases in the middle of the aisle. Avoid spreading towels on the floor. Night light should be placed near the bed, left on all night to make it easier to go to the bathroom. Do not rush. Take time to stand up slowly after sitting for a long time. If you have to go up and down stairs, hold on to the railing and do not carry many things in your hands. Travel with a friend or family member. A companion not only provides physical support, but is also a huge emotional safety factor. In a bad situation, they will be the one to help or call for emergency help in time. No one wants the last memory of a trip to be an ambulance, hospital, or hospital bed. Every trip is memorable, but it is important that it does not come at the expense of health or independence. If you are planning to travel after 70, ask yourself, have I prepared enough to keep my body safe? Or am I just worried about booking tickets and hotels? Remember, when we are young, we travel to explore the world. But when we are older, we need to travel to return, and return safely. In the next section, we will talk about a seemingly invisible but deeply affecting risk, the feeling of loneliness and psychological confusion when traveling in old age. Nameless emotions, sleepless nights in strange places, and the feeling of being lost in a world that moves too fast. You won't want to miss it. Not every fall leaves a bruise. Not every injury requires a bandage. There are pains that only those who have experienced them can understand. Quiet, silent, but smoldering and lasting. And for those who travel in their twilight years, loneliness and psychological confusion are the invisible luggage, but the heaviest. You can see the vast ocean and sky, walk among the pine forests, or stand on the top of high mountains, but still feel empty. Because what is missing is not the scenery, but the connection, the feeling of belonging, someone to listen to or hold hands with when night falls. Most of us think that only old people who travel alone are lonely. But the reality is not that simple. Many people, whether traveling with family, children, or on a group tour, still feel lost. The reasons are obvious. Young people are eager to explore, move quickly, and talk animatedly about unfamiliar topics. Elderly people need slowness, quiet, thoughtfulness, and someone to listen sincerely. The difference in speed, attention, and emotions makes them gradually withdraw, become silent, and feel like extra people on their own trip. Pay attention to the following signs when the elderly go on a trip. Poor sleep, often waking up in the middle of the night, often silent during meals or conversations, sighing often, avoiding planning for the next day, easily tired or exhausted, even though not very active. Occasionally showing signs of homesickness, wanting to return home earlier than planned. All of these are not simply due to physical weakness, but rather confusion and psychological bewilderment when placed in an environment with too many changes, noise, strangers, busy schedules, lack of familiar things, and most importantly, lack of people to share deeply with. Mr. Bang, 76 years old, was taken to Da Nang by his daughter after many years of staying at home. Everything was carefully prepared. Business class flight, 4-star hotel, private car to pick him up. But on the first night, he lay awake. The strange sound of the air conditioner, the noise in the hallway, the empty feeling in the luxurious room made him feel strangely uneasy. He did not share that with his daughter, for fear of disturbing her. But 3 days later, when the whole family was planning to go to Ba Na Hills, he refused, saying, "I want to stay in the room. I'm not good at crowded places." It wasn't because he was tired. It was because he felt lost in a strange world, without spiritual support. You can book a 5-star hotel, have dinner at a fancy restaurant, even hire a private tour guide. But nothing will help the elderly feel safe and happy without listening, accompanying, and slowly sharing their feelings. When we are young, we travel to have fun. When we are old, we travel to feel. And emotions, if not understood, if not given space to settle, will become a burden. When the elderly fall into a state of loneliness, mild stress, or disorientation, they will have significant physiological changes. high or irregular blood pressure. Prolonged insomnia leads to immune deficiency, poor appetite, slow digestion, more prone to falls due to lack of concentration. For people with a history of anxiety disorders or depression, the feeling of loneliness in a strange place can become a trigger for a relapse. Therefore, traveling is not just going out. It is putting the body and mind in a state of constant challenge. That is fine for young people, but for the elderly, if not carefully prepared, the consequences can be very serious. So how can the elderly not feel lonely on their own trips? Create a truly connected space. Don't let the elderly sit alone, eat alone, or have too much free time. Instead, create gentle, moderate activities with interactive elements such as drinking morning tea together, chatting about the past, listening to old music, or simply going for an afternoon walk together. Slow down. Let your emotions catch up. A busy schedule and constantly changing places of residence make the elderly stressed. Choosing a resort-style trip, staying in one place for a long time, allowing their body and mind time to adapt, will be a more reasonable choice. Give them the right to do nothing. Don't force the elderly to follow every schedule. Give them the right to stay in the hotel to rest if they want. And more importantly, don't consider it ruining the trip. Listen and observe gently. Sometimes they don't speak, but their eyes, voice, and steps tell you what they need. Listen not with your ears, but with your heart. We often boast about how many places we have been to, how many landmarks we have checked in. But for the elderly, what remains is not the photo, but the moment. A story told, a gentle handshake, a cup of morning tea with someone sitting next to you, or a meal eaten slowly while listening. No one is lonely when they are still being listened to. No one is lost when someone is holding their hand. If you are planning a trip with your parents, grandparents, or are preparing to travel in your old age, remember, the most precious thing in every journey is not in the suitcase, but in the deep connections between people. In the previous sections, we have gone through many hidden corners of the travel journey after the age of 70, from health risks, medications, accidents, falls, to even quiet loneliness. So if there are so many risks, should the elderly continue to travel? Or should we stop and accept the safety in the familiar circle? The answer is not easy, but it is necessary. And that will be the content of Should I Travel After 70 Years Old? A sincere, profound part, to look back at the whole journey with a fair and humane view. We have gone through a journey together, not a specific trip, but a journey to discover the silent, sometimes forgotten aspects of traveling in old age. From health, medicine, recovery ability, accidents, falls, to even the silent loneliness that not everyone can name, each part of the story is a true slice, showing that traveling after 70 is not just going out, but a problem of physical, psychological, and preparation. And now, it is time to face the core question. Should I travel after 70 years old? The answer is not should or should not, but how to go. It's easy to fall into two extremes. One side thinks, old people should stay home to be safe. They're old. Why bother going out to work? The other side thinks, we have to let our parents and grandparents travel and enjoy their old age, otherwise their whole life will be wasted. But life is not black and white. Not everyone is suitable for traveling in old age, and not everyone should confine themselves within four walls just because they are old. Instead of asking should or shouldn't, ask yourself, if we go, how can we make the trip truly enjoyable, not a silent burden? If we don't go, is there another way for older people to still feel connected, alive, and enjoying themselves? The value of travel is not where we go, but how we live on that journey. Traveling, for the elderly, is no longer about conquering or discovering, but about living in a different rhythm, gentler, slower, but more emotional. A short 3-day trip to the suburbs, staying at a quiet homestay, eating a hot meal, listening to the wind blowing through the trees, can be many times more valuable than a 10-day journey across 4 provinces. The important thing is not to go far, but to go in the right way. Not to many places, but to have the right companion. If you are young, be a bridge for your elderly relatives. If you are a planner, have parents or grandparents who want to go out. Focus on the people, not just the destination. Some things you can do. Learn about your health condition carefully before the trip. Choose a place with close medical conditions, convenient transportation. Do not change your place of residence too much. Prioritize a light schedule with time to rest. Always have someone with you, both for support and to connect emotionally. Don't just take check-in photos. Create real moments together. You will be surprised to see the eyes of the elderly light up, not because of the beautiful scenery, but because someone is truly listening to them talk about the past, about a band AXEO in the countryside, or a song from their youth. If you are an elderly person, listen to your body and soul. Many people think, I don't want to bother my children and grandchildren. It's not fun to go. I'm old. How can I go anymore? But perhaps what makes you hesitate is not your age, but because no one really understands you. Don't be too quick to close your heart to new experiences. As long as you have the right companion, you can still enjoy a complete trip, both safe and full of emotions. And, if your health does not allow it, you can still travel in place by walking around the park, visiting an old friend, or simply sitting and drinking tea and listening to an old song. That is also a journey, if we live fully in each moment. The true value is not in the destination, but in the empathy along the way. The whole story above is not intended to discourage or encourage traveling in old age. The purpose is to suggest a deeper, more empathetic, more responsible perspective. Because after all, every journey is beautiful. If it is carefully prepared, comes from love, and goes with true companionship. If you have followed this far, I believe you are someone who truly cares about your elderly relatives, or you yourself are on a journey to find peace in your old age. And I hope that young people will not just take the elderly out, but will truly accompany them. The elderly will not think of themselves as a burden, but understand that they still deserve to enjoy every beautiful moment in life. And that every trip, whether near or far, long or short, can be the trip of a lifetime if it touches the heart. Every journey will eventually end, but emotions stay for a long time. And I hope that when looking back, what remains in the heart is not fatigue, but truly meaningful moments in a journey not only of the feet, but also of the soul. Thank you for listening. Wishing you and your loved ones truly memorable trips, whether it is now or one day very soon.